All right, Win Magazine editor Tristan Warner here, joined by very special guest Kyle Crutchmer. Kyle, he's on here today. We're doing another USA Wrestling Coaches Corner feature on him and his club, Crutchmer Wrestling Club, out of Dallas, Texas. Kyle, thanks for joining us today, and really excited to talk to you about your career and some of the stuff you're getting involved with coaching now.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited that you guys had me on here, thought about me.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a newborn with you right here. Can you introduce the people to this guy?
Yeah, this is Crew. He's the
Crew.
next one.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's my little boy. He's 3 months old. So we're his mom was supposed to be home, but she's got caught up at work. So
That's
we're
okay.
gonna go ahead and do it.
The more the merrier. Yeah, we're glad to
Oh
have him
yeah.
on. Crew's making his YouTube debut, perhaps.
Yeah,
So
there he is.
yeah. So Kyle, quick background for those who may not know, although I'm sure most do. You had a really decorated wrestling career yourself. A couple-time Oklahoma State champ, two-time NCAA Division I All-American at Oklahoma State, wrestling under John Smith, and then Fargo champ in high school. You won the U23s, I believe, which is, back then it was the University Nationals. But talk a little bit about, if you would, just, obviously you had a super good wrestling career, but plenty of people don't go into coaching. What was it about coaching that pulled you in?
I've been around it my whole life. My dad was a coach. My grandpa was he coached the national championship football team, a high school football team back in the 1990.
Wow.
So I've just been around coaches my whole life. And I knew when I was done competing that my love for the sport wasn't going to be done.
Yeah.
And I knew I was gonna, I was gonna go into MMA, but I didn't want to just completely leave wrestling.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of coaches around me since I was, in high school that had, decorated backgrounds. I had college guys that, when they graduated, moved over, started helping with me, and I felt like that was a big part of how and why I had the success I had. I had, college guys that were young, could come in and wrestle. They were new on the technique. And I just felt like it would have been a disservice for me to not share what was shared to me.
Exactly. Yeah. Appreciate you saying that. And that leads to another question I really wanted to ask you. We talked a little bit about John Smith, a legendary coach, and some of the assistants he had there while you were there. But who else stands out to you throughout your career as some of the biggest influences, not only on your wrestling career, but maybe even now that you're a coach? Like, do you feel like you hear those voices in your head that are like, I don't know. I feel like we all somehow become our coaches to some degree then when we're coaching
Yeah.
also.
I mean, my biggest man is John
Yeah.
Smith. Just wrestling under him and the knowledge that he had, and for the 5 years that I was at Oklahoma State, and again we had plenty of guys, and even like Chris Perry and Tyler Caldwell, who are graduate assistants when I
Yep.
was kind of finishing my career, taught me so much. But I would definitely say probably the biggest influence that I have coaching wise is definitely John Smith, and you could sprinkle a few others, but I would
Yep.
say primarily him is the one that is going to stick out the most. Who I try to emulate just from the success and his verbiage and the way he talked to us and got us ready, the toughness he instilled in a lot of us athletes. I felt like that's something that I try to help with the new generation as much as I can. And again, I just John was the guy for me.
Absolutely. Correct. Yeah. Legendary figure for sure. Um, so when you were coming out of college, you were done, like you said, you knew you were going to get into MMA. When you were kind of toying around with the ideas of coaching, did you think about coaching at the college level or high school, or what was it, I guess, that made you decide, like, I want to start my own
So
club for younger guys?
yeah, so I had opportunities to coach right out of college, um, and I was kind of on the fence with MMA. I had a few opportunities. I think Princeton was one. I know Lehigh was interested in bringing me in. I know OU was interested in bringing me in at one point. And I still had that competitive fire in me.
Yeah.
And then I talked to Daniel Cormier, and he pretty much, he sold it to me to do the MMA route.
Yeah.
And then once I got out there, I didn't help coach at first. For some reason, I just wanted to kind of stay away from it.
Yeah.
Maybe the way it ended for me, I'm not sure. Um, but again, I just kind of gravitated back into it. I had kids that wanted to wrestle with me, and I needed money at the time, and it kind of just worked. And then when DC took over the Gilroy job, I took over his club, and
Yeah.
then that was when I really figured out how to run a club. I dealt with parents and getting people USA cards, just all the little intangibles that people don't think about when you're dealing with kids and trying to get them ready for the next level. And then that also transitioned to me helping with the high school team at the same time. So I got both levels. That's why my club that I have now is all kids and high school,
Yep.
is because of what I learned through DC and what I learned out there in California.
Yeah, makes total sense. Um, so talk a little bit about your club, if you would. I mean, definitely an up and coming state, Texas, not historically known for wrestling, but we're seeing some hammers come out of there. Just talk
Yeah.
a little bit about Crutchmer Wrestling Club. What could someone walking in there for the first time expect?
I mean, we're very intense. I'm an intense guy.
Yeah.
And like you said, Texas isn't primarily known for wrestling. So what can we do to maybe catch up or
Yeah.
put our kids in positions to do well? And I think one of those things is tougher practices, a lot of skill development. Try to wrestle as many tournaments as we can. Just get as much experience. A lot of my parents are always asking me like, is my kid ready for it? And a lot of times maybe they're not. But I'm like, if they go to this tournament and they win one or they win two, then we're going to come back home and we're going to be able to go back to what the drawing board and what we need to work on with those athletes individually and just keep progressing and putting them in the positions they need to get better. My club, man, we have a lot of really good guys, a lot of really cool people that are around, and a lot of people that really care. And we've done a really good job the past. This will be my third year doing it. We've grown it pretty good. We have 118 altogether now.
Nice.
Summers are a little bit lower, obviously, because not everyone does freestyle. Some people play, other sports. But as of right now, man, we're rocking and rolling. You're definitely gonna find some success with us.
That's awesome. How instrumental, and I know you probably know as well as anybody, like we talked about with your Fargo success and some freestyle stuff, but how important or how much of an emphasis do you put it on for the kids and the parents to make sure you stick around in the spring and summer and do the freestyle and Greco type stuff?
I definitely tell them it's important,
Yeah.
right? And we even tell them like, hey, if you can show up one night a week and that's all you can do, let's show up.
Yeah.
We offer private lessons if for some that maybe have practices at certain times. We open the door up on Sundays. We're a 7 day a week type of club, and there's for us that we just don't want to leave any stone unturned, and we want to be able to offer wrestling as much as we can during the week. And I have other guys that help, and they all do a very phenomenal job. Young guys that one of them didn't even really wrestle in college, but he's been underneath me for 3 years, and he's learning,
Yeah.
and they're very dependable. So yeah, we keep the doors open for 7 days, and
That's
and,
awesome.
and we really try to help the guys and the girls that want to be better. Just giving them times that they can come in, even if they're playing other sports.
Yeah, and you talked about kind of bridging the gap, especially being from Texas. I wanted to ask you, you know, how I mean, in a couple of years that you've been down there, have you seen or felt like, in a state like where you grew up in Oklahoma or I'm from Pennsylvania, wrestling almost feels like it's in people's blood or like a generational thing. In Texas, are you seeing more and more kids that get involved with wrestling coming from families that, the sport was never around for them?
Yeah, so that's the thing we have here is a lot of first generational wrestlers,
Yeah,
and
figured.
and a lot of times it can be good and it can be a little bit sticky just because you have to try to make sure that they understand that now we have kids like Jax Forrest and all these other kids that are winning at a high level in high school.
Yeah,
So how do you catch that? What can we do to catch that? And sometimes it can be difficult to educate the parents, but I feel like with our guys and our as long as you're very communicative with them and let them kind of understand and their kids are really wanting to do it, most of the time we haven't had any issues with any of that. And I feel like as a state, as a whole, just from the past 3 years, you're definitely seeing better wrestling.
yeah,
It's a hotbed for it now, but I think where the hotbed comes from is MMA.
yep,
MMA has gotten very big in Texas. with the Houston area, the Dallas area, and then even Austin bringing in all those jiu-jitsu guys and Nolf and all those guys. That's becoming a hotbed now as well. And I think it's going to take a little bit more time, but you have a lot of really young guys down here like myself, Jason Nolf, Nick Piccinini. There's quite a bit down here now that are running clubs that eventually you're going to see those kids do well.
Oh, for sure. It's only a matter of time. Um,
100%.
and speaking to that, talking a little bit about the MMA route is, I don't know if that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Is your club, do you guys run specific, classes or sessions specifically for kids looking to transition to MMA, or is it kind of just go with the territory of wrestling?
Yeah, I mean we're primarily wrestling. Now
Yeah.
now I have a few kids that are interested in it, and they'll come over to my MMA team where we run our MMA stuff, and we'll just teach them basic skills and things like that. But I tell my parents, I tell my kids, I'm not going to recruit you to do it if you wrestle for me. My goal is to put you into a college wrestling room,
Yep.
and if I can get you there, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't have any of them try to skip to fight, because fighting is grueling and it takes a lot, and not everybody makes it.
Yep.
But the best thing I can do is put a kid into college and let him go get a degree and get a job. And, if he wants to fight after that, then, we'll take him. But I only have one kid that's graduated high school from my club that does MMA for me.
Okay. Yeah. Makes total sense. And you talked a little bit about the parents, and like I mentioned about, a lot of them being first generation, probably don't have that wrestling background or that knowledge. How important do you feel like it has been for you to not only, serve as a wrestling coach and a mentor for the kids, but also probably kind of serve as like a teacher and a lot of education for these parents who don't have much of a wrestling background?
Yeah, I mean, they both go hand in hand, right? You got a
Yeah.
kid who loves wrestling. You got a parent that really don't understand it.
Yeah.
Some parents might think, well, we're kind of wasting our time. You started late, but then you got to educate and show them, like, hey, there's a few kids that started late that's done this. And I think the work kind of speaks for itself with my club. Like I said, I posted a few times. We put in 12 into college in 3 years. We haven't had any big time D1 commits or anything. But like I said, my goal is to get guys and girls into college and wrestle. And I think once parents start seeing that and they see how much we care and we travel, and there's been a lot of things that we do that will benefit our kids. And like I said, once you start putting kids into college, parents start realizing really quickly that this could be a shot for them to go and do well.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Looking at your club from from like a structure standpoint, like you said, you pretty much 7 days a week, which is fantastic. Um, do you find it challenging, or how do you navigate? And maybe you have multiple staff that you can break this up with, but if you when you run a club that's K through 12, for example, and you've got kids coming in who are 8 years old and have been wrestling for 3 months, and then you also have a 17-year-old kid who's going to go wrestle D1. How do you find yourself, as a club coach? And I'm also asking because I help coach club also, and this is one of the biggest conundrums that we find is it's like, you've got kids here and you've got kids here. How do you kind of find a way to run a practice or practices that are gonna benefit both of them at the same time, even though they're on a total different planet in terms of like skill
100%.
and all that?
So we keep it very simple, right? My high school guys and the things that we're doing. I might walk over to them individually during practice and be like, "Hey, remember the series we worked the other day? I kind of want you flowing with that a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're going to be specific on this today. If you have any questions, just come and get me, or I'll come over there."
Yeah.
And let them start working, and then I'll have two or three coaches that coach the kids, right? And we might work an overtime series, and we might work one move for 30 minutes, get water, come in, show another move, let them work it for 30 minutes, get water. And we kind of keep it very simple. We stay on, like I think this year we did like a lot of pop club post high crosses with our kids,
Yep.
and just get them to the leg, showing them how to get their feet underneath them, windshield wipe, back arm deep, finishing.
Yep.
And we might spend the whole week on that.
Yeah.
Just have a little bit different variation to it. But by the end of the week, you start seeing them pick it up. And then all of a sudden, now I have the high school guys pop club and reaching, posting high season. And my kids can follow that. And maybe the next time we do that series again. Um, and that's something we've done. And like this summer, we spend a lot of time. We don't wrestle any live. You know, my Fargo guys and athletes do, but right now we're not doing any live. Well, we're going to work one series per week, and if it takes a little bit longer, then we'll spend a little bit more on that. But right now, I'm super big into skill development
Yeah.
and trying to find some offense for our athletes, whether it's underhook series, whether it's a post series, overtie series, you know, low single, whatever the case may be. But right now, we're spending a lot of time with skill development, but we break those up into our high school kids and our new kids. We might even do two groups, one upstairs, one downstairs.
Got it. Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I saw Ben Askren video recently. He was talking a lot about this skill development stuff, about how, some coaches will run their athletes into the ground over the summer, and he's like, what do you need to be in great shape for in the summer? Like,
100%.
yeah,
We
exactly.
don't do sprints. I'm gonna be honest. We don't do a lot of sprints. I don't do. I mean, right now we'll do some strength stuff. We'll
Yeah.
do pull ups. You know, at the end with my high school guys primarily, we'll do push ups,
Yeah.
abs, things like that. But more than likely, I mean, more than anything, right now it's hey, how can we get better on finishing a single leg?
Yep.
Or hey, what can we do in this when we get to a high crotch and we have to crack them down? What can we do to spend time to know by the time November, December hits, you're rocking and rolling when these trainings get a little bit more intense.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Um, any advice you'd have out there for anybody who, I know your situation was a little unique, like you said, you kind of took over for Cormier, but any advice for anybody who's out there, maybe in the position you were in several years ago, they just got done their high school or college career, still want to give back to the sport, maybe want to start their own club, but don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, I mean, from what I did, man, is I got on social media. I created my own Crutchmer Wrestling Club. We started with 0 followers. We have, I think, 2,500, which is pretty good
Yeah.
for 2.5 years. Um, just we're posting a lot. We're creating different ideas. Like we'll do a private idea where there's like three different packages. It's just become business minded, right? At the same time, as well as you are trying to develop a club. You know, I think now with anything with social media and things that we have access to, I think it can be pretty hard to fail.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to scale it to 100 kids, that takes a while, but you know, that's just from being in Dallas and having so much access. But like, man, I when I first started, I called every high school in the area. Hey, you know, I'm running a club. I don't know if you have time or if you guys have a club, but if you don't, I would love to have some of your athletes come over and check us out. And this will just help you guys.
Yeah.
I don't need the recognition when they win state or they place. You know, I just want to make sure that I can help your school achieve the success that they want.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I have had no issues. Most coaches are like all in and they send me 8 or 9 kids.
That's awesome.
And that's something that I've done. And even like during the season, I call our coaches and just say, hey man, I really just appreciate you guys, you know, allowing me to be a part of your kids' journeys and help, and you bringing kids over and trusting me with what you're doing. Just communicating, man. And
Yeah.
and most coaches in the area, you know, they teach and they have lives, and they when they go home and they don't want to spend another 2 hours at night
Yeah.
coaching kids, which
Yep.
I understand, but that's where my job comes in,
Yeah.
and that's where they can get extra work.
Yep,
So
exactly. And that leads nicely to my next question. Uh, Obviously, you're here with Crew today. Talk a little bit
yeah,
about, if you would, one of the biggest barriers I think some people have, who want to get into coaching or want to coach in some capacity is the family life, especially when you got little kids. How do you balance and manage your lifestyle with, having a club that operates 7 days a week, but also, you've got two young kids?
yeah, I think, man, you know, I bring him to practice with me. I
That's
spend
awesome.
time with him. You know, I have a great wife. My wife, she's, you know, obviously you got to have somebody in your life that can pick up slack when you're doing a lot of things, you know. And
Yep.
with my MMA team, I travel a lot now too, with both parties. It's something I just enjoy doing. I'm not a homebody personally. I can't be at home for a while.
Yeah.
You know, I make sure that when I'm home or whatever, you know, I take my kids outside. I take them fishing. I have a pond in my backyard, so we'll go fishing. Whatever the case may be, just um, I think kids recognize when their parents try
Yeah.
and they show up, and If she has a game, my daughter has like a t-ball game, I go. If she has a little thing she's singing at school, I make sure I'm there. It's just putting in the effort into your kids, into your wife, into your relationships with your family, your friends, and just making sure you're not just putting all your eggs in one side. And that's something I feel like I'm pretty good at. So
That's awesome. You got it figured out. That's great. And last question for you, Kyle, here, and this is one I like to end pretty much all these interviews with, and it can be a tough one because there's probably lots of things that come to mind here, and I always say that. But when you think about kids that have come through or will come through Crutchmer Wrestling Club, or just kids that you will have coached in any capacity, what is or what are some of the most important things that you hope that they take away? Even if it's something off the mat, just that what do you want them to take away from your leadership that they can apply into their life in some other way?
personally, I've had some hardships in my life. I've had things that have happened that unfortunately, sometimes you don't want. And
Yeah.
I think what I would want from my kids more than anything is just, to learn how life can be tough and being able to deal with those things through wrestling. And whether that's, maybe they failed that year and they didn't have the year they want or whatever. We just keep them in, going, and we just try to teach them, hey, things sometimes don't go our way, but we just keep pushing. And I think wrestling as a whole, no matter how you do it, is going to teach you that. It's going to humble you. You're going to develop a little bit of an ego because you're going to win. You're going to experience so many things in wrestling that just benefits you in the long run, man. And
Yeah.
whether that's interviewing for a job, and you don't get it, you don't just quit. You try again. You try again. And when you wrestle in one tournament, you might win three, you might lose two,
Yep.
and you just get not used to losing, but you just become a little bit better person,
Yeah.
knowing that you can get through those things when you need to.
Yeah. Builds that resiliency for sure. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Well, hey man, we thank you so much. We thank you for bringing Crew on today.
Yeah,
We
he was
hopefully
good.
see his name in the Win Magazine ranking someday.
Oh, he will for sure.
But yeah, anybody wants to check out your guys, so your social media, just Crutchmer Wrestling Club on Instagram.
Yep, Crusher Wrestling Club on Instagram,
Okay.
and we're pretty active. So
Yep.
check us out.
And I'm sure we'll be seeing some of your athletes, making some headlines here at Fargo and all that kind of stuff. So
That's the
probably not the
plan.
last time we'll be hearing from you, but like I said, we really appreciate your time coming on here to talk. And this article will be out, and this video will be out in our late June issue. So
Nice.
thanks again, Kyle. Really appreciate it, and best of luck to you and your club.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.